Hey guys. Um, I've been thinking a lot over the past few days. Ever since I watched the video of George Floyd in Minneapolis and his death on camera at the hands of a police officer, at the knee of a police officer. And ever since I saw that, I've been struggling with what to do and how to talk to you guys about it. And because if we were in the classroom, I would know what to do, right? But with this format, um, I didn't know, and so I was quiet, right? I didn't say anything, and and it ate at me, and it ate at me, and today I really finally realized that it's better to just come out and say I don't know what to do than to do nothing. So here I am. On Monday of last week in Minneapolis, a man named George Floyd was detained by officers, and there is a cell phone video of an officer holding him down with his neck or I'm sorry, with his knee on his neck. And there were several people in the video who were trying to tell the officer to stop, that Mr. Floyd was no longer or wasn't resisting. I shouldn't say no longer because I didn't see the full video of him resisting arrest, but at that point he was not resisting arrest, and they begged the officer to stop. They said he's not moving, and he kept saying he couldn't breathe. And if we were in the classroom, this would it would look a lot different, right? We would have already had this conversation. And then yesterday in Center City, as happened across the country, nationwide, there was a beautiful, peaceful protest that this people knelt for 9 minutes, and in honor of Mr. Floyd, and there were signs calling attention to the fact that there is a big problem in this country that can't be swept under the rug. People won't allow it anymore, and it's a problem that we've talked about. We've talked about in the classroom. We've talked about racism, and I know it's a math class, but we talk about real life in it. We've talked about the inequities in our society. We've talked about the way things are stacked, right? And we've talked about like beating the system, and about finding a way. And we've talked about the things that need to change. And I've talked to you about my hope that you grow up and that you find a way to make the change happen. And if we were in the classroom, the way that the conversation today would go after that peaceful protest turned into riots in Center City would look a lot like this. It would be me sitting Indian style on top of some desks. It would be a glasses off type of conversation, and it would be me saying to you that I am filled with so many emotions about this. And I was filled with so many after watching that video. And then, after watching the video, I was angry, and I was shocked and frustrated and embarrassed and uncomfortable. I felt all of that. And after seeing the news yesterday of riots in our city and continuing into today, with looting, and then curfews being placed into effect, there was anxiety and tension and fear, right? Fear. And it's a lot. It's a lot. And if we were in the classroom, the last thing that I would be doing is acting like none of it was happening and just giving you a math lesson. That's not my job. I firmly believe my job is not to shove math down your throat. My job is to teach, right? And that means teaching you as a person and respecting you as a person who has feelings and is experiencing this world, and me teaching you how to navigate it and how to have a voice and how to advocate for yourself. And and how you as one person can do something. I, as one person, I mean, I know I just have a little job as a math teacher in one school of all the hundreds of schools in Philadelphia, right? But in my one job, I get to, hopefully make an impact on the lives of 100 children every year, right? And that's pretty amazing. And and I use that as a way to speak to you guys about what is going on, right? And what is going on today is people are done, and I can understand. We talked about in February, when I realized that there wasn't going to be like a school wide recognition, outward recognition of African American or Black History Month, that that we wanted to do something in our classroom, right? So we did that. We spent the last, week or two of February, and, we talked about the ugly, disgusting parts of our history of this country, right? And we talked about how a lot of those feelings haven't gone away because it was not that long ago. Number one, was not that long ago. And number two, there's still a lot that exists, and that has to be recognized before it can be fixed. And I just want you to know that even though we are not in school, even though we can't sit in a classroom together and have this conversation, that you have a place where we can hear you and we can see you. So we invite you, just like I'm using this as an outlet, to voice my frustration and my anger and my, feelings of anxiety. Like, we invite you to do the same. Whatever it is that's coming up for you, whatever it is that you want to talk about, because to be honest, just this situation alone is beyond horrible, like beyond words. But when you add on top of that the quarantine and COVID and the school closure, and you guys have been through so much this year. You've been through so much. And for some of you, it hasn't just been this year, right? I had a lot of students when the coronavirus, first prompted the school closure, sharing that, they were afraid that there was going to be, blowback on the Asian American community and that they were going to be discriminated against. Imagine your fellow students who have that fear and have had that fear for as long as they can remember, and are going to probably have it for a really long time. I just can't imagine any of my kids having to live like that. And like, I recognize that, there's a lot that I don't have to worry about because of the color of my skin. And that's not fair, and it's not okay, right? There's a lot that, as a mom, that I take for granted. Conversations that I don't have to have with my kids because of the color of our skin. Things that my kids can do or will be able to do, hi baby, more freely because of the color of their skin. And it's not okay.
I'm gonna go upstairs.
Okay, I'll see you later.
You want me to come upstairs?
No, I'm talking to my students.
Okay.
But they'll be up soon, okay?
Okay.
I love you.
I'm coming, Dad.
It just like it hurts my heart and my soul to know that the conversations that moms out there like have to have with their kids simply because of racism. And I just want you to know that I love you, that I am here for you 1,000%, that when I tell you that this is why you need the education, that I mean it. I was not told growing up that there were these huge problems. I grew up in the city, but I wasn't raised with this, open-minded idea that there's something that needs to be fixed. I wasn't. I didn't figure it out until I was in my 20s how messed up things were if you were not, if you weren't white. I didn't know. And I'm grateful that I'm in a role. It's one of the reasons I switched to teaching, right, from being in the bank. Like I'm grateful now that I have this ability to affect change, but you are learning about it and you are exposed to what is going on at such a young age. You have the ability to make real change. You can. And I can't wait to see it. I love each and every one of you. And I invite you to share with us so we can have some real conversation. Even though it's a little non-traditional, but at the very least it's an outlet, right? And I love you. And that's it. Okay? Love you so much. Talk to you later. Bye.